Am I the asshole for asking my husband to limit his time with his nephews because our daughters are missing out? Hi. I had an issue yesterday with my husband which I'm conflicted about regarding whether I was in the wrong. My husband and I have two daughters, 6 and 8. My sister-in-law and her family live a couple blocks away from us. They have two boys, both 9 years old. Her husband is in the army, so he is away from home a lot. When he's away, the boys come to our house often. They're great boys, respectful and energetic. When they're here, my husband takes them to the park to play soccer. They always say they have a great time, and my sister-in-law also thanks us for it. When they're not around, my husband takes our daughters to the park too. I often join them, and they also look forward to it. However, when my husband takes the boys along, even though we encourage our girls to go along, they told me they just don't enjoy it. Basically, the boys get super competitive, and it's not fun the way it is when it's just them with my husband. I take them along by myself, but apparently it's not as much fun. My husband can also only do some days of the week, and when their father's away, the boys come on those days. Yesterday, I asked my husband to talk to his sister and set some kind of limit to those days because our daughters like going to the park with him for soccer, and it's not the same with me or when they go with him and the boys. He looked taken aback and said that they're good kids. Their dad's away for long stretches, and they seem to have fun there. I said I never said they weren't good kids, just that our daughters feel like they were missing out. He said he'll encourage them more to come with them, and he'll make sure things don't get too competitive. I said we've gone through that before, and it's just not fun for them. He said telling his nephews this would be cruel, and made it sound like I was an asshole for suggesting it, so I want to ask, am I? Commenter. Your husband needs to understand that he can't be all things to all people, and that his kids need to come first. That doesn't mean he can't spend time with his nephews, it just means he has to learn to divide his time. Not the asshole. I mean, think of it like school recess as an elementary schooler, right? The boys are gonna go play football and and just be really rough with each other and super competitive. And there's not a lot of girls that do that or enjoy that. I'm not saying girls don't enjoy playing football. And in this case we're talking about like American soccer and American football. But like I'm not saying that there's no girls that enjoy playing sports. I'm just saying that the way boys, especially at this age, play sports versus how girls play sports is probably a little different, especially in your case when the girls are saying that they don't like being super competitive and they enjoy playing with you or with your husband. And what it kind of sounds like to me is that your husband has more fun playing with the boys than he does with your daughters, which does make sense, but also from a parent standpoint, I feel like it would just be fun to play with your kids regardless. I mean, sometimes it's like, oh, it's such a pain. But like seeing your kids happy, I feel like would be one of the best things about parenting. And it's something that a lot of parents might take for granted once their kids actually do grow up. Anyways, let's get into the update. Or update one out of three. Update. Since today was a holiday, he was going to let his sister know he'd been taking the kids to the park earlier today, so the boys should come earlier. I asked my older daughter separately whether she wanted to go. She said no, even though she'd been hyped up for it in the morning. I told my husband this. While she was cuddling with him, he asked her why she didn't want to come, but she was avoiding giving a reason. Eventually, my husband asked if it was because she didn't like playing soccer anymore. She said no, she did. Then he brought up whether it was because of the cousins, and she sadly admitted that yes, but she didn't give him the details that she'd given me about the competitive nature and everything. My husband hadn't texted his sister yet, so he told the girls the boys can't join right now, and if they still wanted to go to the park, we could all go. Both my daughters suddenly really wanted to go and went to get dressed. So we're at the park now, and the girls are having fun with him. I think he's going to take the boys later in the evening. I'm really not sure. But my daughter telling him seems to have made more of an impact than me saying anything did. Update 2. A few people have asked me if we made any progress. So last Tuesday, after we'd gone to the park in the afternoon with the girls because of the holiday, he'd planned on taking the boys separately. I told him he'd be too tired. But then he couldn't because he was beat, so I told his sister something had come up. His Fridays are a hit or miss on when he gets back. It kinda depends. He usually knows about it beforehand though, but sometimes he doesn't. So my oldest daughter had asked him about this Friday plan on Thursday night. He said he'd come back early. They'll be good to go to the park. He then talked to her about if it'll be a good idea to have her cousins come too, that it would be fun like they all used to have, and the girls said okay. When they came back, my husband thought he'd done a good job moderating things, and the girls also said it had been okay. They weren't as enthusiastic as they are when they come with him alone, so over the weekend I just asked my oldest if their playtime at the park had gone better because Daddy had been trying to make it fun for everyone. She said it was, but that he isn't as into the game with them as it is otherwise is. Basically, the gist of it I was getting at was that he takes more of a referee role and it's just different to what they're used to. And I've got along when it's just us, so I kind of understand what she's talking about. It's supposed to be them playing soccer with him, but it's not really. It's very unstructured. They'll start playing whatever the girls feel like midway through. It's just more spontaneous, I guess. I had planned on bringing it up with him on Sunday before they all left for the park. My daughter seemed like she was shy about saying all this, so I thought I would. But she actually brought this up with him herself. On Saturday night when we were watching TV, she asked him if we couldn't invite the cousins tomorrow. My husband said okay, but asked her why she didn't want the cousins there. He later told me he was just concerned about this issue she had with them and wanted to know it wasn't anything serious. She just said they don't have as much fun, so he dropped it at that. I had this idea from a few comments on my original post, so I told him I'll tell his sister to send the boys earlier. I'll go with them, and he agreed. So I took them out earlier and tried to keep up with them. But I thought it went well, and I took them for ice cream after too, so the boys got a good outing and my sister-in-law got some rest. Yesterday we were going to do the same thing, but my sister-in-law told us the boys said they'll just wait for when my husband is free. She asked him when he'd be free, whether his free days had changed. He said there'd just been some changes to his schedule. I was of the opinion he should tell her honestly what's the issue, but he seems to think making our daughters the focus of the conversation would be wrong. I disagree, but she's his sister. So we went yesterday with the girls by himself. They've been super happy, but he said he'll come up with something for the boys too. It's a bit disappointing because I thought the solution I had tried went well, but apparently not. So it's still a work in progress. I almost feel bad for you, like the OP, because there's no way you aren't thinking like, wow, these kids just don't have as much fun with me as they do with their dad in this situation. Like, I I don't really know. I mean, I don't know why you haven't tried taking your daughters. Or maybe you have and I forgot already. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little slow today. But anyways, I have no idea what the solution is here. I mean, hopefully when we read this update, we'll find out something like positive, but I really don't know how this is gonna be fixed unless, your husband just starts allocating his time towards both of the groups separately, and that's just is what it is. Update 3. For those of you who have been asking how it's going, so we had a sticky moment on Thanksgiving when we went to my husband's uncle's house a few hours away. The entire family was there and he had like a beach ball. My daughters were passing it to each other and keeping it up from the ground with their heads, and his uncle was praising them. My 8-year-old kind of bragged and said that it was nothing. On Friday, with their dad, they had managed to keep it up for 14 bounces. My sister in law kind of pieced it together and realized that my husband hadn't been honest about the change in schedule that he had been going to the park with our daughters alone. So he finally addressed the issue with her. She said her boys were fond of my husband and they'd been sensing that he was pulling away and that they weren't stupid. We told her that our daughters were feeling a bit left out, so he had been taking time out just for them. He said that we're all family and that it would be good for the girls to learn to play with others and share. My husband and I had been diplomatic for the most part, but at that time I had to defend my girls and I said that they can't be expected to share their dad, that them wanting to spend alone time with him was perfectly normal, that if it really was an issue with them not wanting to share, then they'd be arguing amongst themselves too, but that was never the case. They were perfectly fine with playing with my husband together. My husband was more conciliatory. He said we should want to make sure that the kids don't start resenting each other. They're cousins and should be on good terms. She said she'd always appreciated how we had helped her and the boys, that it wasn't anyone's fault that her husband was away for months on end, and that family comes together in these times the way we all had. I brought up the idea that since the boys were into playing soccer competitively, she should enroll them in the local community center. She said it wouldn't be the same and we were making a big deal out of this. She even said I should send the girls to her place instead. I said sure, on the days that my husband wasn't available, I could do that. He placated her that he'd work something out for them. So for now, he's taking our girls out alone on Tuesdays. On Friday, he took everyone out and we encouraged our girls to go too, and they did. And for Sunday, he said he'll go with the girls alone again. It seems like we've struck a balance for now, and he told me he'll continue with this until the girls feel comfortable enough to play with their cousins. I can tell he feels guilty, and I do too a bit. I'm fond of the boys, but my girls are definitely happier with this arrangement, and I can't look past that. Thanks a lot for the advice, and I'm hoping everyone can be happy with the state of things. Holy, sorry for those stutters. There wasn't like much punctuation, so I was just trying to do my best, and that was like the third take, and I was just like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna roll with it." Anyways, let's get over this really quickly. So your sister is mad because your husband isn't spending as much time with his nephews, but she's perfectly okay with her husband not even being in the picture because of his job. Now, however, I do understand that her husband is in the army and whatever, but I just don't know how your husband is at fault here because it's not like him prioritizing his first family as opposed to his secondary family or whatever that would be. Him prioritizing his daughters over his cousins or his nephews is completely normal. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And your sister's just kind of being a little entitled, at least in my opinion. And she needs to figure her stuff out and realize that she's demanding way too much out of your husband. But that's all I can think of for the story. Let me know what you all think in the comments below, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.